daily sunshiner. So glad you could join us this evening. I'm here with a dear friend and fellow magic sister, Miss Lannette Simone. Lannette, will you please introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you and what it is that you do?
I own the Shotspot. It's a B12 injectable bar, and I recently opened up a crystal healing room, so we can support your energy with vitamins and with crystal cellular healing.
I love it. And I want to say thank you so much, first of all, for helping me get over my fear of shots, or not, I guess not shots, but needles. That has been a lifelong, ongoing fear of mine. So thank you very much for helping me out with that. Nikki, I see that you're on. We've got a few more people jumping on. So thank you all for taking the time to join us. If you're catching the replay, I'm so thankful also that you've been able to have the time. Also know that, of course, you can listen to our conversation doing whatever it is that you would like to do, because we're not going to be doing anything much different than what you're looking at right now. So, Lannette, I would love to hear. I know that your crystal room is a new space for you, so I'd love to hear more about that. Tell us about the decorations. I know about them, but I'd love for you to share them with our friends here. So tell us about the decorations and your inspiration and how it all came about.
So I wanted a crystal bed, and the Vogel crystals were not making sense to me. I needed something else. And so I found this ruby lavender quartz, and it's a healing wand, and Saint Germain is very much a part of this healing crystal. And so my room is really, was inspired by the lavender ruby, the violet flame of Saint Germain.
Mm-hmm.
That's the color. So I've got a nice fabric ceiling, and I did like a glaze on the walls. I wanted them to look kind of like a pyramid, like the inside of like a temple. And so I'm trying to get the room to vibrate at 528, and for wellness, right? So that vibration can kind of shake karmic debris out of your cells. So releasing all of that and then filling back in with all of the really yummy good stuff that is in that room. So
can you tell us about the significance of the 528 and what that actually means? Because I don't feel like that's something that is necessarily common knowledge at all. So what is it, and how do you bring that into a space?
That's the good stuff. So there's a Hawkins scale of vibration, and it's 0 to 100, or 0 to 1,000. And 84% of the world's population vibrates under 200, and that's where illness is. So raising to 528 is the heart. It's love. It's that's where everything good is. You're completely well emotionally, physically. So I do a lot to tend this space to bring it to that frequency, like working with rose oil vibrates at 320. So that's pretty good. And then I also do source energy medicine, which is a water that is charged with different labels for bringing your body into allowance for healing, different healings. So I diffuse that in there. And then I play frequencies and binaural beats to, get the vibration where it needs to be. It just doesn't, you've been in there. It feels so melty. You just feel so good.
Does.
Yeah,
it does. And I love that even though you're working closely with Saint Germain and this crystal, and yes, I have met Nolly. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Yes. And this crystal really has a personality of itself. I've never really met or seen a crystal like it. And I love that about you, about you and about the crystal, because there's so much to explore as far as the personalities. And I think that that's something that's so interesting, that people who are just starting to tune into crystals and just starting to tune into that frequency have to explore. It's like this whole world of exploration and being able to communicate with stones and to communicate with rocks, being that everything has its own vibrational frequency. And even in that frequency, there's information. And so I love that you're bringing that awareness of the frequency into the room, into the healing, because I have noticed that it can become effortless. It can be one of those things that just absolutely becomes effortless when you walk into a space. Have you ever been in a Buddhist temple when they're doing like a relic showing or anything like that, when they're bringing traveling relics around?
I haven't, but I've been in a Buddhist temple in China. It was pretty fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Well, so my experience with the relics is, one, it just blew my mind that they're like literally like bone pieces or fragments of people that have lived and have done extraordinary things on the planet. But I remember walking into this one, it was like in an exhibit in San Francisco, and it wasn't an exhibit, I guess it was just a temple. And so we walked in, and I immediately just felt a whoosh go over me and felt so much shifting and changing. And I was actually with a group of psychics, and when they were doing the prayers, they were doing, they had like the little smoke pot things. I know I'm totally like massacring what they call them, but they're like the little temple cleansers that have sacred smoke coming out of them. And when they put them on my head and when they put them on my teachers' heads, both of my mentors, I watched so much energy just like surge out and like shoot out of their bodies in a way that was so drastic, but at the same time, so calming. And I didn't really have an awareness of, actually measuring vibrational frequencies like you're talking about. But I knew it was kind of one of the first moments that I woke up to, oh, that's what the frequency is. And that's how the frequency like shifts things, and the frequency changes the mood or the energy or the attachments that we come into this world with. And it can be so captivating, really, and so interesting to watch and see. And so I love that you're doing that, because it's just so supportive, and I think it makes our job as healers so effortless and simple. I mean, easy if the environment that we're doing the healing in is purified.
Yes, and it's really a place. Oh, I'm getting so much echo.
No, we can't hear it. That happened to me with Shauna the first time. Okay. Is it bad for you?
It's fine. I'll just know that it's okay. So it's really an intentional place for your guides. You always have access to your guides and your angels, but it's really like this meeting place. It's like Starbucks for your guides and your angels to meet you and to do the work and to do the clearing. And it is really easy. And that is one of my big messages, is that healing, release, all of these things, they don't have to be hard. They don't have to be painful. You can just kind of, let things go, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be as traumatic as maybe it has been in the past, or you've been told it needs to be.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I was trained as a psychology major, and so I did my own fair share of talk therapy because of my own trauma. And it's like going through the photo album is not something that necessarily helps. It didn't help me, that's for sure. It's like I can tell the story 100 times, but does it make me feel better? No, it like at some point I guess I can stop crying while I'm telling the story, but like the actual root of the healing, the karmic ties, the emotional attachments that we have, all of these things that like literally can keep us crippled for our entire lives. And to be able to walk into a space and know that it's safe and know that it's like, it is the space for healing. I love that you say it's like Starbucks for our guides. I was introduced to the Stargate through Denise Sheehan, and she, I would agree with your analogy on that the Stargate also is like, it's like the Starbucks. We put them up, we've got them up all over town. We've got them up all over Reno. And it's fun to be able to check in and see on them and see how they're doing, because still that energy needs to be fed. It needs to be paid attention to. Otherwise, yeah, it will kind of dwindle and it will kind of just fade. And so I love that this new exciting room for you is really starting to beam. Have you seen or have you noticed that it's made a difference for the ShotSpot or any sort of new people coming in?
Yes, everyone is like, what is that room? What goes on in there? And so I invite people in. They're like, it feels really good in here.
Yeah.
And so, and Nolly, the crystal, is unconditional love. And so she just really, that's the place that you want to do healing, right? Because she's absolutely supporting you as, you know, your guides come in, your angels come in, you do the clearing that you need to do, and you're completely supported. And it just like, there's just this warmth and meltiness that you get right above your heart chakra. It just is phenomenal. And then another thing that I do is, and then I want to tell you like how, like Nolly's history.
Yes, I want to hear all about it.
So when you come in for a session, I set the bed the day before you come in or that day, and healing of your chakras. And I also do a crystal grid. And so that grid is for the person specifically, but also everybody who walks through the door at the hotspot receives that same healing. So that grid is really set for all of us, you know, to release grief. The one that I have right now is to remove any blocks that are holding us back, and really focused on the sacral chakra. So removing any blocks there, because those get heavy, you know, and so it's nice to have those kind of quantum healings.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about Nolly. Tell us about your history and how you found Nolly and the whole bit. I love this story.
Okay. So in the 50s, the government was doing, they wanted to use crystals for defense. And so they had these ruby lavender crystals, like huge slabs, and crystals wouldn't cooperate. So the crystals end up in a storage unit in the 1980s. So recently, Bill Hurley, he owns Crystal Wings, was contacted, he purchased them, and then he cut them into these healing wands. And then he also has Saint Germain flames, which are really phenomenal too. So when I went to, you know, get the crystal, it's so amazing because they kind of just like close their eyes. They're just very, you know, love and just not about all of the aggression and, you know, that the government was trying to use them for. So when I went up there, there were like 10 in a case. And so I had them all out on the counter. And I'm like, none of our crystals are making eye contact with me. What is going on? I'm like, you have to have another one or something else. And he goes, we have some that are almost ready to come out. And so Nolly was the last one that he opened, and she just sparked. They're in these little sleeping bags. They're so stinking cute. And they, you know, because they're really kind of fragile. And she sparked, and I was like, that's mine. And it was just, yeah, love at first sight.
So with Nolly though, like you say love at first sight, but what was that experience? Like what actually happened? What triggered within you? What were the emotions? Like how did you actually know?
It was so, okay. So do you remember Alice in Wonderland when the flowers were there and they didn't have faces or anything? They were just flowers. And then all of a sudden you can see their face and they start talking. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened. Like I could see her, like I could see all of their faces, but their little eyes were closed. And so when I saw her, it literally, like she sparks a lot. I just had her in Monterey. I went for a little, you know, weekend trip, and I wanted her to have the ocean and the beach. And so she was sunning, and my boyfriend and I, we were taking a selfie, and she was behind me, and she's completely sparking in the picture. It was just so random that happened. She photobombed us. It was kind of
I absolutely love that. And I love the analogy that you use about the Alice in Wonderland and the like faces of the crystals, because I remember when I had like first dove into my own psychic training, and I was starting to explore just all sorts of things. I was actually doing tithing in the school that I was at, and I could keep hearing from the plants that they didn't like where they were. And I never understood it before because plants had never talked to me before in this way, but literally to the point where I was like, vacuuming, and I would like turn around, and granted this is a psychic school, so there's all sorts of weird activity there all the time. But it, like, I finally started listening to the plants, and they were ficus. We had ficus trees all over. And they started to tell me that they wanted to be in different places. So I started moving them around. The plants started like re-leafing themselves. Like all of a sudden they started getting so much more healthy and so much more happy. And that's when it was the first time that I started to realize, like, okay, we can talk to everything that has spirit, and we can listen or gain information from everything that has energy. And if everything is energy, and if every sentient being is available for communication, then we have the most simple form of access to infinite knowledge that is right there. I mean, it's within us. It's to me, it's the same as learning how to write. Like we know how to write, but we need to be taught to learn how to write. And I love that just the crystal thing just came naturally to you. I remember I watched a video of this little boy. I think he was like 7 or 8 years old. There's a video on YouTube. He had made this crystal grid, and he started talking about how he can talk to the crystals. And I'm like, that's so interesting. So like, tell us. And so in the video, he tells us how to talk to crystals. And he said, you just have to find the key. Like there's a key on the crystal, and each of our finger pads, we have chakras on each of the finger pads. And so that's where telekinesis, the ability to be able to hold an object in our hand and gain information from it. And so this boy said, you just find the key, you put your thumb on it, and basically it unlocks the crystal, and you can activate it, you can turn it on, and you can start to work with them. Because like you were saying, not all crystals are activated. Not all crystals are turned on. You can see when they're dormant, you can see when they're activated once you start tuning into the frequency. And I remembered I had this little tiny crystal. It wasn't very big. It was maybe, like a couple inches. And I found the key on it. It was just kind of like a little open abrasion sort of thing. And I was like, maybe that's it. And I put my thumb on there. Immediately the crystal started talking to me. And I said, okay, so like what do I do with this now? And it directed me to like putting the crystal on my third eye, on my throat chakra, on my heart space. And basically the crystal walked me through this information about how to clean and clear out my space. And I changed that day for sure. I completely changed that day because of the awareness and the opening. And it's like learning how to talk to a crystal doesn't just mean one thing. Like it opens a ton of doors, and that field of being able to connect with them, it makes, doing the crystal healing so effortless, because it's like you're just listening to what they want to do. You're not trying to figure anything out. It's not rocket science. It's all intuition and clairaudience, basically.
Yeah. Because whenever I go to crystal stores all the time, and something will spark. And by the way, I had no idea about the crystal keys. No idea. Never have done that. I'm so on that now. Yeah. But they communicate in so many forms, right? And so like something will catch my attention, and I think it's for me. And then it's like, no, I'm really for your chiropractor, or I'm really for, and so people end up getting really amazing crystal gifts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I met somebody who at a music festival, he was brought up there to lay out this enormous and incredible crystal grid that was paired with all sorts of nature materials. And it was gorgeous and phenomenal. And I had the opportunity to sit and talk with him. And he never claimed ownership over any of the crystals. He's like, I am just simply facilitating their journey. They've been here since before I was here, and they will be here when I die. And they have their own journey, and I am simply a part of the sharing of what it is that they're going to explore and what it is that they're going to find in their own right and in their own life, because they have a story that goes so much farther beyond what we know, basically. I remember one of my trainers was an older gentleman. I think he was well into his 70s when I started, and I was 23 when I jumped onto my own psychic train. And he and there was always a connection. We always, we were very playful with each other. He always cracked me up. And it wasn't until probably about halfway through my program, I'd known him for like 6 months. And all of a sudden it dawned on us and we started remembering this past life that we had had in Atlantis. And it like all of a sudden just like opened this like, oh my gosh, like there you are. And all of a sudden now I'm remembering and all the crystal information is starting to come back. And I think it's so interesting that in the 50s they're trying to use the energy of crystals basically and couldn't figure out how to do it. And my personal understanding, and of course this can be a total theory, but my understanding of it is that with the fall of Atlantis, that the community split, hence Egypt and the ancient Mayan culture. But when you look at, or if you follow Edgar Cayce at all, or if you actually look into the history of Atlantis, which there is tons of channeled books on it, that basically there was a use of the crystalline energy that became toxic, that became destructive, that became malicious. And so when that started happening, basically it became the fall of Atlantis. The energy became too powerful. And so the city sank into the sea and all of this really interesting stuff. And so it's been to my understanding that until after like 2012, and I'm sure there has been more before that, but that the crystals have laid dormant on this planet since. That yes, they have been used in here and there and not so much with the full awareness as they were during that time, but that with the reawakening, the conscious awareness, the Schumann frequency, that is the measurement of the vibratory frequency on this planet, that is quite literally in an up and up and up increase all the time. It's like it's reactivating the dormant crystals. And so when certain crystals start to get reactivated, it's like a domino effect. And like I said, this is all kind of from the book of my own theories. So you can quote me on it if you'd like or not. But it really is so fascinating. And there is not a room that I exist in that does not have a bunch of crystals. Like my office, my healing space, my bedroom, my house, like all of it. There's crystals everywhere because, I mean, I've got them all on my neck, on my ears. I wear them always because to me, they are little energizers. And there's so much information in them that it's fun. It's so much fun. So do you have any stories basically about of your own healing or your own awareness, especially? I know you have the Vogel wand, right? You didn't get the Vogel bed, but we share that. We are wand twins.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. This is so fun. So Marcel Vogel actually trained and certified Bill Hurley. So he is he's the one who cut my crystal. So the Vogel wand it's like a lightsaber. It's so amazing. So today, so what I've been doing is I can clear people's meridians. I've done a lot of womb clearings with the light of the crystal. And then I like to, clear out your grounding channels in your feet. But I also love, since you introduced me to my wings, I've been like obsessed with wings and people's wings. Today I had the most amazing clearing. So one of my clients came in and I asked her if I had cleared her yet. And she said no. And so we went into the crystal room and I was working on her wing channel and her wings went, like they popped out. Like I was like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. And I said, did you feel that just now? And she didn't know because I was behind her. She didn't know where I was working. She goes, oh my gosh, I have like tingles all the way down to my fingertips. And she's like, I can feel it in my, between my shoulder blades. And that was so awesome. It was so good.
Did you cry?
No, but I was just like, because that's the other thing. It's like, it's reawakening light workers. Like it's time. Mm-hmm. And it's time to use your wings and all of those good things.
I will say, hands down, of all of my work, like I love my work. I love everything about my work. I love everything about my job. I love. This is why I'm here for sure, without a doubt. And working on taking butt out of my vocabulary. And my all-time favorite really and truly is connecting people in with their wings. And what's beautiful about it is that what I have learned is that people cannot be connected with their wings until they are ready. And so when people come to me or we're talking and they've done a lot of their work and they're showing up to me because they're at a point where they're hitting the upper ceiling, they're hitting the upper limit, and there's more for them, they come to me, and more often than not, that's when the introduction to the wings starts to happen and the reconnection with it. And it's really funny because it really is just kind of like almost like a tap on your shoulder where it's like, do you remember? Like, yeah. Hey, it's good to see you again. Do you remember? And I'm actually doing a talk this weekend in Vegas with Miss Star Singer, who you are also friends with. But I am doing a talk this weekend on awakening and the different levels of awakening, because it isn't just, oh, I've awoken, I now remember and know that I'm a spirit in a human body. But there are so many levels to it. Awakening to being an earth angel. For me, that was harder for me to accept than being psychic. Like, I had my own situation in being psychic, but then it was really funny because I also had like this whole other circumstance. And after I found my wings, after I healed my wings, after I'd worked with them about actually coming out and saying, I'm an earth angel. And now it's what I've titled my program. So now I have earth angels in my life who are working and doing their work. And I will say, hands down, the best part, my favorite part about all of it is introducing people to their wings. And I usually cry every time because I'm a sap at how beautiful it is and how incredible it is. And I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. And they're like, what? And I'm like, it's really funny. I feel like a mom, like dropping my kids off at high school for the first time or something. I've never done that, but I don't know. I would assume that that's it's very mushy. It's very heart-centered for me in that experience, which is why I love it. I love those ooey gooey gushy life moments.
It changed my life when you were like, okay, you have 4 pairs of wings, and you're like, one is like Egyptian, and you're like, and you need to figure out what they're all for. And I figured out 2.5 of them. Nice. And so I really, really, I love that.
Is there anything you can share with us about them?
Okay, so I have Egyptian wings. Those are the first ones that you saw.
I remember them vividly.
Right, and they're for downloads. Mm-hmm. And so you told me you're like, and then you also connected me with like your Sirius energy, and you said, to look into Sirius and how does that correspond with you, or what hits do you get on that? So I started looking into that, and I've always had an Egyptian connection. And then Sirius B is 8.7 light years away from the Earth, and that's my birthday. And that's always like a huge hit that I'm on the right path. So yeah, so that, Sirius energy with Egyptian, and then I've got Egyptian wings for downloads. I feel like it's for Sirius. I get my downloads from there. And then I have white wings that are really, really amazing, and I clear my office space with them. That was one thing that you shared with me. So I just like walk around my office and collect any energies, and I walk it right out the front door, and I kind of just shake them off, and I go back in my office, and I love them so much. And then you're like, have you hugged anyone with your wings yet? And I'm like, but I'm not a hugger. And so one day I did do it. The situation really called for it. I had somebody come to my office, and she was just like, I don't know why I'm here, but this is the only place I want to be. She was experiencing some trauma, and so my wings just came out and went right around her. And it was so nice because I don't think either one of us were huggers, but I could hug her with my wings and just make my little bubble of happiness and safety.
I love it. And I mean, yes, that is the covert ops secret angel wing hug. And I've witnessed and watched that aspect of my wings, like in learning how to use them and learning what they do. That aspect is it's so incredible to just see and watch energy completely melt away and bringing the energy of the angelic realm with the intention of bringing that right into the physical, right into being able to shift somebody's energy in the physical plane, in their physical body, and to be able to shift something so dramatically, so simply, and so unconsciously to the other person. Like,
Yeah.
yes, they might feel warm. Yes, they might feel tingly, but unless you say, do you feel like the angel wing hug or anything like that? It's such a beautiful thing, especially for people that aren't going to show up and be like, I just need a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I've been watching my wings grow and grow and grow as I expand. It's I think I told you about this, but the motorcycle accident that
Yeah.
I was there that like really shook me up for a while. For those of you that are following me, I think I talked about it on one of my other live streams because it was so intense and so powerful. But there was a man who had died, and since they had died, they basically leave him in the road until a coroner comes to get him. And I didn't know that that's what happened. Like the ambulance had come, he had been pronounced dead, and so they just leave him there. And so this is a busy street, like after 5 p.m. in Reno. And I went because my stepmom had, I don't think she witnessed it, but she was there like right when it happened. And so she called me. I was on the phone with you when that happened. I said, my mom just called. I got to go like check this out. Yeah. And so I went, and his spirit was there. His spirit was there with his body, but he was still in shock. He was still in confusion. Like his spirit hadn't turned to the angel that was behind him. He was still there, like sorting out. I was watching him like sort out what had happened and knowing that there was no choice to go back. Later on, I found out that, that this gentleman, he had, I think like 4 kids and something like that. And so it was like a really tragic experience. And the angel that was behind him that I could see clearly, and I've been home a couple times, not that I've had near-death experiences, but I've been brought home. And it was the closest that I had been to home in this physical world, in this physical body. It was like the veil was so thin that I could actually see both interacting. And the wings that I saw, they were easily like 45 to 50 feet high. And granted, I'm sure angel wings come in all sizes, no matter where the angels are flying, but it was so huge and so profound for me. And I basically just took like an imprint from that, asked for an imprint and asked for an upgrade. Like, can I experience what those wings feel like? And I started to notice my wings and my capacity started to open up and shift and grow in such an extraordinary way that now, like it's hard to put it into words because it's just such like a visceral, etheric experience, but at the same time, it's so tangible that it's undeniable. It's undeniable that that's what it is, basically. And so it's been fun to be able to witness and learn from my own personal experience and witness and learn from my clients who have found their wings and can also share like what it is that's going on for them. And I'm seeing Kayla here is saying, I've bundled up and held myself with my wings before, and it's the most comforting feeling I've experienced. And I can totally and completely relate to that in moments where I'm like lonely or sad or having a personal pity party, because we're all allowed to from time to time. But when that happens, those wings are so, no words except thankful. I'm thankful that I found them. I'm thankful for you. So when that was like, was that this week? That was recently?
It was today.
That was today. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I'm excited to hear how that unfolds as well. Just kind of checking in with Saint Germain and Nolly, and I feel like they're not done sharing what it is that you're doing.
Not by a long shot.
No. So what is it? How did you get connected in with Saint Germain, and how have things shifted for you since connecting with him as a guide?
He's kind of cool. And I feel so my fingernail polish is I have been wearing this polish. I keep getting it put back on. I can't get away from it, but this is like his signature color. It's like the ruby lavender color. And then I was like, I really need a crystal bed. I need a crystal healing room. And then I found the ruby lavender crystal, and then I found Saint Germain, but he was already, tapping me on the shoulder. And so now, this color shows up like in people's shoelaces, in their undergarments, right? In like all of these places where it's like, oh, this is someone that I'm working with also, or you need to help in a different way, or all of these things. So I have a funny story. I had a client come in yesterday, and she was all excited. She just had this meeting, and she wanted to share like this credit card processing information with me. And so she looked at my polish and she goes, oh my gosh, that polish is on my toes. And I was like, oh, Saint Germain is working with you then. And I was like, oh no, Dingle Kringle, he's working with you. And this is something that you need to pay attention to, this credit card processing, difference. So it's kind of interesting how it all comes about, but this color is everywhere. It's everywhere. And so and he is known for like humor, right? And so I love to work with people like that, because that's my sense of humor, right? It's just, it makes everything fun and magical, right? When you can connect on that level.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
I think that's funny, especially in you saying that, because I hadn't really connected with that. But I know that when I came in to see you, I was wearing a pair of undergarments, as you would politely say, that I have not worn in a very long time. And just the sheer fact that I came into you and that is in alignment, now hearing your story with that is really hilarious to me. My first interaction with Saint Germain, yes, the jokester, the funny haha. I was in the Stargate, doing Stargate meditations, as I just mentioned, and he had come to me, and it was a couple years ago, and I was going through a breakup, just trying to get over blah, blah, blah. And he came to me and he said, there's going to be a man entering your life. And he showed me a set of eyes, like very clearly, very distinctly. And I didn't want to believe him for the longest time, because I felt like he had also, like in other cases, led me in like trickster directions where I had followed his guidance and had been like, what was that about? And maybe that was me just not getting it, or maybe it was him being ha. But this particular time, this gentleman showed up in my life a couple of months later. And he heard me at a talk. We ended up not getting coffee. We were going to get coffee. We ended up getting a snack. And then he said, yeah, I'm about to go to this talent show. And turns out it was my little brother's talent show, and he was a teacher subbing for the class. And it was just like this really interesting, weird, serendipitous situation. But it was that time where I was like, Saint Germain, you definitely showed up in that way. And he's been a guide that has kind of like popped in and popped out for me every now and then. And so I love that you've been connecting with them, because that energy, it's just so beautiful. And how awkward that, like, again.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what happened to me.
And again, I don't know when the last time I wore this was.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I so get it. And so, and then one more thing. When I was doing sessions with you last year, you did mention you're going to like change, like the color of your clothes are going to change. And back then I was like, I like to wear black all the time. I can't imagine wearing anything else, So, that color is like everywhere. It's all my undergarments. It's just everywhere. It's fabulous. I love, and it's tuning to the vibration of that color.
Wearing pants right now too. I didn't think I was going to have to show anybody my pants, but oh well, special little treat there, I guess.
Your main calls, right?
Yes. Awesome. So Laura, I'm seeing you have a question here, so I'm going to bring that up onto the screen. So do you know a difference between raw crystals, tumbled, polished, wands, etc.? Do you find on type is more informative or talkative? This is a bit off topic. LOL. I love LOL. I do. I appreciate tumbled stones for like a novelty, but I don't feel a lot of charge from tumbled stones at all. I think they're pretty. I think they're nice to wear. I think when they're polished, you know, they still hold an energetic charge. But for me personally, there's something much different about raw stones and raw crystals and how they show up without being even polished. I'm not a big fan of polish. I've even seen amethysts or crystals that have like a lacquer or something over them that's like meant to preserve them. But because I do know that you have to like maintain them, and if they get dried out, you want to use mineral oil, and like that can get a little bit tedious, especially when you're talking about like an amethyst geode or something like that. And so I think it's all relative and really what it is that shows up for you. But Lannette, do you have anything to say on that topic at all? How does it resonate with you?
Everything. Yeah, I think it is. It's the different purposes, and the crystals will come to you that need to be with you for whatever reason. And they do come in all kinds of forms, but I am not a fan of the lacquered business at all. I don't like it, but I love sacred geometry. So I love, you know, a pyramid makes me so happy. You know, the spheres are gorgeous. Mm-hmm. So there's a time and a place for everything, right?
Right. Well, and like you're talking the crystal skulls, the like you said, the pyramid. Nolly is a shaped stone. She is not raw by any means, and so there is something I think to the cut. And I also do believe in like the person that's working with the stone and that their specific connection and their specific intention and what it is that they're doing with the stone. I do believe that that is important as well, that there's a specific kind of connection that happens that is tangible, that is felt, because you're literally shaping the rest of this stone's life. And so as you're shaping it, it's like that intention goes into it as an imprint. And I'm sure that there's a way to clear it, but at the same time, like I still feel like I feel it. And I don't know, I have some really incredibly beautifully cut smoky quartz and rings and jewelry. I mean, I'm surprised I'm not wearing any now, but they're still potent and it still holds a charge in the qualities of them. But yeah, I would say that when I'm doing healing work, I'll say the crystal healing work, I do prefer to use raw stones. Oh, Shauna. Look at Shauna flying in here with some compliments. Glad you could make it, lady. So what else, Lannette? I feel like you are always like little Miss Chatty Cathy, and we can go on for hours.
I know. What else?
Does anyone have any awesome or wonderful questions for us? Sky's the limit. We talked earlier. We have no go zones. And Laura, yes, for the jewelry cut. Yeah, I think it's really important to know your story. Oh, I have one, but I don't know if I want to share my story. I'm going to share it. Okay, so I have this beautiful smoky quartz ring, and Lannette, I know that you've seen it. It's the one that has the two really big chunks. And yep. Those two chunks, when I bought them, were very, very dark. They were almost opaque. One was opaque, and the other side, you could just barely see through it, even if you were holding it up to a light or if you were holding it up to the sun. And I brought it with me to a medicine ceremony. And a medicine ceremony, meaning, yes, a psychedelic medicine ceremony, to be able to do a significant amount of healing in a very short period of time. And I brought my ring to the altar. I put it there. I said a prayer for it. We all journeyed. We all went through our own adventure, our own experience. And as we were having our closing circle and as we were getting ready to leave, I went and I picked up my ring, and noticeably, the stone had changed color. The stone had like one of the stones is totally transparent. You can see through it. The other one that was opaque is like lightened to the one of the other side. And I still don't really have any sort of explanation for it. I don't even really have any sort of proof for it, other than the people who were with me when I bought the ring and who saw it after were all amazed and like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that that could happen. Part of me just feels that there was a healing journey for the stone and the earth that happened as everyone was doing their own healing and releasing and purging and cleansing, that there was that connection looking at the stones, because as we see stones, it's dense material, it's matter. But if we really look and dive in more deeply to everything, this table, this computer, everything is billions and billions of atoms moving around very, 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 very quickly. And so even if we think about that, like our third dimensional reality feels tangible, but at the same time, if we're looking at it in an energetic frequency sense, that technically nothing is solid. Absolutely nothing is solid, and everything has a story. And if crystals have and are part of a sentient being, or they have a personality, or they have an energy of their own, then can't they too change?
Well, that tells you how much energy, how much negative energy and release that those stones were processing. They did a transmuting, and that's kind of phenomenal. Like that was a huge sacrifice, I feel like.
Or a sacrifice are also like meant to be.
Right? Yeah.
Because you as an energy healer, or me as an energy, what was that?
And the capacity of those stones to really do, because they're worker bees, right? And to really get in there and do the work that was required to hold this space and to support you all while you were journeying. And that's the beauty of crystals, is that they really do have a mission and a purpose, and it's really for everyone's highest good. And I mean, the happiest.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's an interesting story that I haven't shared with many people. Doesn't come from my book of theories, but it comes from my book of experience.
I love your book of theories.
I used to call it Samantha's Book of Ness, my Samantha-ness. I would just pile in these stories and theories about life and how things happen and how things work and blah, blah, blah. And so I would call it Samantha's Book of Ness. And I give everyone a preface before I started reading from it, basically. I'm like, don't quote me on this, but this is what I'm starting to gather. So we've got time for one last question, and I'm going to go with Laura. Where did you get that chair? Tell us the story of the chair before we jump out here.
Okay, so they're actually a set of chairs. I got them from a consignment store, and I was working with an interior designer, and she actually was instrumental in getting these chairs, and then they were upholstered here. And the woman who commissioned all of this, she had cancer and she passed, and she had 5 adopted children, and her husband remarried a woman who wanted all of her stuff out of the house. So lucky me, I got the chairs. And so I always feel like, you know, I was sad that none of her kids wanted these chairs. They're like fabulous. I call them my gossip chairs, but now they're my magic room chairs. So I love them so much. We've sat in these chairs and done some big work, full moon work.
That's right. And I would come back again and again and again and again. That was so much fun.
That was fun.
All right. Well, so how can everybody get a hold of you, and what is the best way for us to connect?
So I have, if you want to come in, check out the shots, theshotspotb12.com is the website. You can book an appointment on there. If you are interested in the crystal, I am really being kind of selective right now about who is in that room. So I need to have a relationship with you before that happens. So yes, I'm kind of like the doorkeeper.
I'm so glad I found the magic password.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. So the Shot Spot here in Reno, theshotspotb12.com, and then Lannette Simone on Facebook. Obviously, you're going to be tagged through here, so anybody that is watching this can also just connect and I guess just go from there. I am also so excited, going to talk about Become a little bit more today. I've been so excited for this. I was actually at Healing One today doing a sensory deprivation float, and it was like for the first time in such a long time, I laid in that float tank. I don't think I've ever done this actually. I've been there for 90 minutes, and I swear for like 45 to 50 minutes of it, I was in there smiling. I was in there smiling about everything, about Become. I've got the workbooks all dialed in. This is going to be 3 days of such beautiful transformation and healing energy. I keep getting messages on it that those who are meant to come are going to come, that I've pretty much done the work that I've needed to do. So yes, now it's about telling people and getting them to be there. But it is, if you can make it, it's August 24th, 25th, and 26th. It's going to be at the Atlantis here in Reno. We're going to be, Kia, you already have a ticket. I've got a ticket for you, so I'm stoked that you're going to be there. So for everybody who is interested, please private message me and let's talk. I do have a link. We can put it in the comments, but I'd really at this point rather you message me because we've gotten past the early bird stage. And so I want to offer some sort of special opportunities, but with that, I'd like to be my own gatekeeper, and really welcome you in if that's exactly where it is that you are meant to be. So, oh, it looks like we've got the ticket link here, so feel free, connect in with that. You've got the early bird opportunity. I actually ended it a couple days ago, but I'm feeling generous and I just want everyone to be there. So check in with it. If you have any questions about it, just click that link below and we'll get you all dialed in and all set up to meet us. Lannette hopefully is going to be there for a day at the very least, if I can twist your arm. So hopefully if you come, you'll be able to be there and get to meet some of our Reno connection and our Reno community. So if you live here in Reno, it's going to be an easy one for you. If you're coming in from out of town, I've got room rates and discounts for you on that as well. So Become, connect with us. Lannette, thank you so much for joining in with us. I'm glad we got the internet figured out and all of that cleared. It's kind of funny because sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, you never know. And so I just really want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you oh so much, and I'm so glad that you are a soul sister on this journey with me and with us.
I love your face.
I love it when you say that. It's so funny. All right. And for everyone watching, thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for everyone that stuck around the whole time. And next week for Let's Get Raw, I have Miss Rhea Onra. She is she's an earth angel. So she's been in my year-long coaching program. We're like 7 months in. I can't believe it's gone by so fast. And so you'll be able to connect with her too. And she is an incredibly magical powerhouse as well. So come loaded with your questions, come loaded to talk, because there's no doubt that you're going to get something out of that in so many different ways. So with that, I love you. I love you. I love you. Remember, we are in this together, and I do look forward to connecting with you soon. Ciao, ciao.